Good morning, everybody. Good morning. What's going on? Monday, January 5th. Good morning, everybody. Oh, like I haven't done a show here in the morning. Seems like it's been 3 months. I might not be on top of my game anymore. This is going to take me another month to get back into it. Might as well just sign off until the trade deadline. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good to see you fine people at 8 a.m. Good to see you people after the turn of the calendar year. We're in 2026, man. 2026, January 5th. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We got a lot to get into. I think I did my last live show was on Wednesday. I don't know why those extra couple of days. I got to be honest. I think I was starting to get bored. I'm like, well, the hell am I going to do here? Can we get back to business? Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We got a lot that we're going to hit on today. No guests today. I apologize, but that means you got to listen to me for about an hour. 1 hour of just listening to me. That doesn't sound like a good morning. That doesn't sound like a great morning. All right, we got a lot to hit on. Looking forward to talking some hoops with everybody here. Looking forward to talking some Lakers basketball. Definitely got a lot of things that we're going to cover today. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. If you guys got any thoughts, comments, anything you want to put in, feel free to put it in now before the show starts. I'll read a few of the comments before we get started. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today, and then we'll get things started. All right, here's what we got. Here's what we got. 2 wins versus the Grizzlies. Watch out for the Lake Show. I mean, if you thought they were struggling, just play the Memphis Grizzlies without a lot of their key players and a superstar that I don't think is no longer a superstar. I don't think Ja Morant is even near that conversation of a superstar. So whenever your franchise needs to get back on track, just play the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the topic that I'll grab that we'll get into in just a little bit, if you're the Lakers right now, it really doesn't matter. However you can stack up some wins and kind of move forward is more important than who your opponent is. And if they were just fortunate to have the Grizzlies on the schedule, then they were just fortunate to have the Grizzlies on the schedule. But Lakers did get a couple of wins over the weekend. Jake LaRavia taking advantage of the opportunity in front of him. Could there be a silver lining of having Austin Reeves out right now, maybe having Rui Hachimura? Is it this opportunity for Jake LaRavia to shine? Is it this opportunity for him to feel comfortable, be aggressive, kind of play his best basketball that he's played so far as a Laker? He's had a couple good games in a row. We'll see if he can keep that going. I want to talk about Ayton big picture. I don't know what it is. I'm kind of starting to get a little bit of concern with Deandre Ayton here. There's some good quotes after the game, and they're talking about how getting him the ball and keeping him engaged and everything else. But I'll spend a little bit of time on Ayton. Now, listen, this isn't going to be much of a Ayton 2 years from now. It's Ayton right now, right? I mean, that's all I think if you're a Laker fan, you're not thinking, and I don't think the plan was ever to have DeAndre Ayton for this is your championship center for the next couple of years. And I don't think that's going to be the case. But I'm talking about the rest of this season, some of the things that I got a little bit of concern about when we talk Ayton. Redick made an adjustment yesterday with LeBron's minutes. We'll get into that as well. LeBron's actually looked pretty damn good these last couple of games. Again, if you ever need to get back on track, just put the Grizzlies in that on your schedule. And then take out some key players in the process. Some trade target updates, a couple updates. Mark Stein put out a report. Was it yesterday? He might have put it out, maybe on Saturday, in regards to a couple of these Pelicans players that have been tied to the Lakers. Tomorrow, the Lakers play the Pelicans, so good timing to talk that. Ja Morant, I'm gonna make a case that the Memphis Grizzlies got to trade Ja Morant. That he let him go somewhere else. And if you're Ja Morant, you got to end up with the right team and the right franchise. And by the way, this morning I'm reading some different articles, and one of the teams that they mentioned with, I'm like, yeah, that's the worst place that you can go if you're Ja Morant. We'll get into that in a little bit. Got some NBA news. We'll look at the Western Conference as a whole. Thunder lose again. Now, I'm not telling you that the Thunder are not going to continue to be the favorites to make it to the NBA Finals, but they lost again, so something to keep in mind. We'll look at the Thunder. We'll look at the Western Conference. We'll do a quick weekend recap. The NFL playoffs are set. Badass matchups everywhere. What a game last night between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Man, kickers, just do your job. I mean, you just do your job. Kick the extra point, kick the field goal to tie the game or win the game. And yesterday it didn't happen. Pittsburgh wins, so they go to the playoffs. Baltimore, that's it. Their season's over. I ended up going to the Rose Bowl as well. I mentioned that between Indiana and Alabama. Ended up going to that game, and then we'll call it a Monday. We'll call it a day. All right, let me take a look at a couple of the comments. Then we'll get the show started. Let's see what we got here. All those offensive rebounds by Grizzlies showed one of the big concerns, lack of effort on. Okay, it will be. I'll come back to this. Let me come back to this because I also don't want to pretend like the Lakers beating the Memphis Grizzlies was 2 wins, back-to-back Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Long time. I haven't heard from you. Very busy. Long time. Agree with your take as always. Win is a win. Just a little bit of a rant. Why JJ keeps on sticking with Rui as a starter. Well, thank you for coming back. And if you haven't been here in a long time, the restaurant's always open. Sometimes you got other stuff going on. But when the restaurant's open, come on in. I mean, how many times you go visit a place and you're like, I haven't been here in a while, but I like coming here. Well, you're always welcome to come in. All right, Ocean Breeze. This is the first quote we're getting in the new calendar year from Ocean Breeze. Your results in life are a perfect reflection of all the choices you have made. If you want better results, make better choices. That one kind of slaps you across the face. Good morning, Sliwa. Let's get real. We win yesterday. There was a little more play calling by JJ, but we are a ball dominant team by 2 people. Okay, let's get the show started. I think this is a good transition to get the show started. I'll keep looking at some of the comments, so feel free to throw them in, and we'll get started. So, what do the 2 wins mean against the Memphis Grizzlies? They beat the Grizzlies on Friday. They beat the Grizzlies on Sunday. There's a couple different ways to look at it. If it's hey, where are the Lakers now? And these games are supposed to kind of calibrate how good the Lakers are. These games don't mean anything. But if there are 2 games in January that in a grind of an 82-game season, you can look back and you could say to yourself, Lakers are shooting themselves in the foot against bad teams, or they're taking advantage of bad teams or beat up teams or injured teams or whatever the case is, right? In the case of the Memphis Grizzlies, it's probably a combination of the 2. Memphis is not a good team, number 1, 4 or 5 games below 500. Number 2, they're missing some key players on that roster and on that team that certainly if they were healthy, I think the games might look a little bit different. So I think that's the way that I would look at those last 2 games for the Lakers. I think it's clear to point out that the Memphis Grizzlies are not competing for anything. It's probably more in their best interest to lose games at this point. 15-20 now on the season. Who knows what their identity is? Who knows if the Memphis Grizzlies are going to, are they going to start selling before the trade deadline? Yesterday, no Ja Morant. Zach Edey, who's a nice player, doesn't play for them as well. Scottie Pippen Jr. is a nice player as well, doesn't play for them as well. Cedric Howard, who's their point guard, had 16 in the first half, their rookie point guard. He left and didn't play in the second half. So it's not like the Lakers went up against Goliath and found a way to win. That's not what these last couple of games have been. But I'll tell you what they are. What I would tell you is these are 2 games that if you lost one of them, I'm ripping the Lakers in one of these shows, right? If they lost Friday night, I'm spending a lot of my post-game show ripping the Lakers and have wild concern between now and, some of the players coming back, which is going to be Reeves. Rui's not going to be on this 2-game road trip. So it's going to be a while until, obviously they get fully healthy. If they'd have lost last night and some of the players that I mentioned weren't there, and Memphis pretty much dominated the entire first half. They dominated. Third quarter, Lakers started to make a run. Fourth quarter, Lakers caught up with the Grizzlies and then took over from there. You got one of the top 5 players in the NBA. You had other players that stepped up. Lakers have no excuse not to win the game on Friday. They have no excuse not to win the game on Sunday. What these last couple of games were for the Lakers was to give people like me an opportunity not to demolish the Lakers if they didn't do their job and if they didn't play well. And I don't even have to use the word play well, because I think play well signals give them a ton of compliments. I don't even think I need to walk away and give them a ton of compliments. They showed up to work, they did their job, and they went home. And you're gonna expect them to win games like this. And I cannot tell you how important it's gonna be until Austin Reeves comes back, until the Lakers get healthy, until they potentially make a move at the NBA trade deadline, to win games like this. They got another game coming up tomorrow against the Pelicans. Okay, that doesn't sound like a big deal. The Pelicans aren't a good team. Pelicans, what's their record right now? I'm going to take a quick look here. Let me see where they're at. I know they're one of the worst in the Western Conference. They're 8-29. The Memphis or the Pelicans have the worst record in the Western Conference, and they're supposed to be losing a lot of these games. They've lost 7 games in a row, and at this point, I'm sure they got a ton of interest of putting themselves in a position where let's just go try to get a top pick. That's what I would do if I'm the Pelicans. Well, what if the Lakers lost tomorrow? Would we not just everybody be demolishing them, telling you that the world's about to end? That's what would happen if they lost to the Pelicans. They lose to the San Antonio Spurs on Wednesday. We're just going to say kind of the same old chatter. Yeah, Spurs are healthier. They're better. This is what the Lakers are chasing. These are the type of teams in the Western Conference that give them trouble. It's going to be kind of the same conversation that we've had. And hopefully over the course of the next month, between the trade deadline and between health, Lakers can address some of those issues. They got a little bit of time to address it. What you don't have time to address is bad losses. Is the Lakers' record versus teams that are below 500 really, really good? It is. Is the Lakers' record versus teams that are going to be, they're going to need to compete against in order to get out of the Western Conference and some of these other teams in the Eastern Conference that are elite? Is that an eye opener? Is that a stat that slaps you across the face and says, well, this is not good? Are there some trends that the Lakers have that you have some legitimate concerns of how they could really compete in the West? Of course there is. But you cannot lose to the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. And in this process, in this month of January, where they're going to have a lot of games that they go up against opponents that are going to be below 500, maybe aren't competing, this, that, whatever the case is, you can't stumble versus these teams. And where I'm going to give the Lakers some credit, they've beat up on really bad teams. And the game on Friday and the game on Sunday, no one should walk away being like, hey, I think the Lakers figured something out. No, they didn't. But what they did do is just take advantage of the schedule and beat up on some teams that they need to beat up on. And I heard Derek Fisher say something. I think it was Derek Fisher and Geeter yesterday on Spectrum. So I was at the game yesterday. So I'm at Crypto. And I listened to the beginning of their post-game show. Then I went to go listen to JJ Redick. Went to, obviously where he does the presser. And then I came back and I started the post-game show. And Derek Fisher said something to the effect of, these games are critical because when everyone's bitching and complaining about the seeding and where the Lakers ended up in April, it's losses like this or wins like this that help determine where you're going to be from a standings perspective. So that's how I look at these last 2 games. Not that the Lakers figured something out, not that the Lakers all of a sudden became a really good defensive team, or now their rebounding is better, or their turnovers are better. None of that stuff, because none of that stuff changes. But for 2 straight games, they took advantage of their schedule, and you need games like this in order to kind of get back on track, maybe give you a little bit momentum. Maybe it shows a player that can get some confidence from games like this, guys like Jake LaRavia, who we'll get into in just a second. And, lo and behold, you look at the standings, Lakers are 3rd in the West. They're 22-11. They have twice as many wins as they do losses. So that part I'm going to give the Lakers credit for without overreacting or without telling you that, obviously I'm not BSing anybody here and trying to make it sound like the Lakers did something special over the weekend. They didn't. They just did their job. And over these 2 games, this is kind of what happens in the West. Teams are playing some 500 ball right now, and if you're the Lakers, you're one of those teams. I mean, the Thunder are 6-4 in their last 10. Denver's 4-6 in their last 10. They're going to keep falling because the best player in the world isn't playing for them, and he's going to be out for at least a month. Houston's 5-5 over their last 10. So there's a lot of teams that are around you in the Western Conference. Nobody's playing perfect basketball, and even the mighty Thunder are continuing to drop some games, which is a little bit interesting. So that's kind of my main takeaways from these last two games in regards to just getting the wins and moving on. Get the damn wins and move on. All right, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments, and then we could start talking about Jake LaRavia. And then this is all those officers really showed one big concern. Lack of effort. I think this was kind of the point to this comment that I was making here. Lakers have not figured anything out. When the way you figure stuff out, let me see what they look like on Wednesday when they take on the Spurs. And even if they don't win that game, when they played the Pistons, right? Pistons was a great game for the Lakers, timing-wise. It was like, okay, well, here's a young team that pushes teams around. They hit the glass. They're athletic. They got a really good player in Cade Cunningham. What's that look like? Lakers were in the game, and the next thing you know, in the fourth quarter, they're down 20+. We knew what that looked like. So I think there's going to be certain games where, the Lakers will get their tests. But you can't lose against Memphis, and you can't lose against the Pelicans, and you can't lose against some of these other teams in between playing those big teams that you ultimately are trying to compete against. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. All right, let's see. The Lakers, Sliwa, we don't strive to be like the other teams. We strive to be the best. Yeah, but I think you have to be. I think you have to be realistic. Would it help anybody if I just sat here and said, well, this is the Lakers? I mean, if they're not hanging a banner, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, but there's steps in between. I mean, they have one championship in the last 15 years. The Lakers of old is not the Lakers of today. And the way the NBA is structured is also not the same as today. So I think new ownership is going to put the Lakers back on the map. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think it's going to take a couple of years. And then I think you could start saying, well, it's the Lakers. This is how they do things. I mean, it's not – the Laker brand is there. The logo is there. But it's not the same. It's not the way it used to be. So what I try to do when I come on here is I try to be realistic. And I think realistic means pointing out where the team actually is, looking at what they look like today versus what they could look like tomorrow, and kind of looking at it from a big picture perspective. And big picture right now, there's a lot of concerns with the Lakers. But kind of get down and instead of taking that 30,000-foot view, look at it from 30 feet, and I would tell you, all right, they got 2 wins they're supposed to get against Memphis, and that part they did their job on. Good morning, Sliwa. Enjoying my coffee while watching. Lakers are supposed to win these games, and that's what they're doing. Where's the problem? No problem. No problem. The problem could be when you start playing some of these other squads, then, we're a little bit more realistic of what it looks like. Only a problem if they lost to Memphis. Only a problem if they lost to if they lose to the Pelicans tomorrow. That's the only time it's a problem. Frankly, if they lost to the Spurs on Wednesday, it's not a problem. You more just want to see, well, what it looked like. Are they doing the little things? Is Ayton stepping up? Does LaRavia look good? What do the role players look like? Then it's a different type of conversation. All right, let's see what else we have here. I wouldn't call it beat up. They were down. It's a good point. It's a good point. No BS. And I know this is going to sound, I'm obviously watching a game for 48 minutes, watching the entire thing, seeing all the nuances, the details that are there. There was somebody who worked for the Memphis Grizzlies that was sitting next to me. And I'm like, if Cedric Coward, who's their rookie point guard, doesn't get injured in the second half, I think Lakers would have been in trouble last night. That kind of sounds funny, but it's the truth. Their rookie point guard was demolishing the Lakers. 16 points, kind of one of those guys, too, where there's certain styles of players that are not that hurt the Lakers. Yeah, that style hurt the Lakers, and even without even without Ja Morant, I thought that was the case. All right, let's keep going here. Lakers third in the West. I know that. By the way, that one's throwing me off. That one's throwing me off a little bit. Um, that one's throwing me off for a number of different reasons, and I think you guys know why. But listen, that's not the Lakers' problem. Just win games. I mean, if I'm the front office, they are. I think I was talking about this after the game on Friday. Last week, don't get me wrong. I mean, I took my fair amount of shots against the Lakers and I kind of ripped them, but I think I'm giving my analysis. This is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. In a weird way, in the month of January, I'm going to get into Jake LaRavia in just a second. In the weird way, in the month of January, they can keep their head above water. And there's other teams in the Western Conference that are kind of pushing back a little bit. Nobody's 8-2, 9-1 in their last 10 games. I mean, I think Minnesota's playing some good ball. I think Phoenix is playing some good ball, but nobody is dominating right now. Spurs, I think 7-3 in their last 10. But it's not crazy to think that the Lakers can keep their head above water, get healthy, and then try to make some kind of move by the trade deadline. And then you're looking back a month from now, February 15th, and you're like, all right, we'll kind of take your chances with this. That's not unrealistic, but they got, obviously a long way to go for that to happen. So we'll kind of wait until that, until we get a little bit closer to finding out what the Lakers' health is down the road. And if they do make any moves at the trade deadline and what moves they make. Okay, let's talk Jake LaRavia here for a quick second. I'm going to give everyone just LaRavia's stats the last couple of games. Again, I'm not going to make too big of a deal about it. Now, maybe I will make a little bit of a big deal about it. I think this is more important than Jake LaRavia than anything else. So I'll take the Lakers out of the mix here for a quick second. Here I am. I'm Jake LaRavia. I'm 24 years old. I play for the Los Angeles Lakers. I know the type of pressure that comes with a franchise like this. I know the fan base is wildly all over the place and expect championships. I read that, that article or that comment earlier about somebody saying, yeah, but Slee, it's the Lakers. Okay. There's certain expectations that come with the territory. Jake LaRavia, I think for me, one of the biggest things when he became a Laker was like Dorian Finney-Smith is no longer on the team. And you're basically asking Jake LaRavia to fill his shoes. I'm not telling you Dorian Finney-Smith was a top 2 player, top 5 player in the league, but Dorian Finney-Smith was a nice role player for the Lakers for that brief amount of time. I like the career that Dorian Finney-Smith has had. And it sounds like, him and Luka had a really good relationship. So I was surprised that the Lakers didn't bring Dorian Finney-Smith back. But what was the theme with Jake LaRavia? They went younger, they went cheaper. All right. So far this year with Jake LaRavia, I think what's happened for me is like, you can't really depend on the guy, but I like him. I don't know what it is about his game, but I like him. I think he does. He's got a good basketball instincts. He's a good basketball player that I think is going to try to make the right decision. Isn't going to do too much. Isn't going to force it. But he's also just 24, and maybe Jake LaRavia is not ready for, the big spotlight for another year or 2 years or whatever the case is. Austin Reeves, we know, has been out. Rui's been out as well. And when you look and you watch this Lakers team, it's like, all right, well, you're going to need some other guys to step up. And I don't think Ayton right now is just basically giving his averages at best. We'll talk about Ayton in just a second. Here's Jake LaRavia the last 2 games. 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals on Friday night. Shot, by the way, 66% from the field and 50% from 3. And then Jake LaRavia last night, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, shot over 50% again, 56% from the field and 40% from the 3-point line. LaRavia has been great. LaRavia has been phenomenal these last 2 games. I mean, my takeaway from the game on Friday and the game on Sunday, outside of just saying you got 2 wins that you had to have, there was no excuses for them, just bank those 2 wins and move on. You start the month of January, you were 5-7 in the month of February, or I'm sorry, in the month of December. You already got 2 wins in the first 2 games you've played in January. Tomorrow you make 3 in a row if you just handle the Pelicans. My biggest takeaway in these last couple of games is LaRavia looks nice. Here's the one thing that you want with Jake LaRavia. This is the only thing that I care about. And I said it here as we were getting ready to start the show, that if there's a silver lining that Austin Reeves is out or Rui Hachimura is out, if there's a silver lining, you want those players there. But if there's one positive we could take away from not having those guys there, can Jake LaRavia put himself in a position where he just feels more confident, more comfortable? Can Luka Doncic go out of his way and say, you know what, as I try to orchestrate the offense, I got options. Can he get more and more confident in Jake LaRavia to go to LaRavia when he needs to, when a double comes on Luka, or Luka drives, gets past that initial defender, gets in the key, everybody collapses, and he's looking around. He's like, oh, I got Jake there. I feel good about that. Can LaRavia feel good about getting the ball and spotting up and taking threes and trying to get to the basket and being a little bit more aggressive? LaRavia has been phenomenal in these last two games. You know, there was LaRavia had a stretch early in the season. I remember being at one of the Laker games, and I asked JJ Redick something along the lines, when you got Jake LaRavia, what did you think, and what do you think so far? And he said, well, there's a reason why Jake LaRavia was my first phone call in free agency. They targeted this guy. They wanted this guy. They believed in this guy. And by the way, 2 years, $12 million in the NBA, that's a phenomenal price point right there on Jake LaRavia. Very little risk. Let this guy prove himself. You got to kind of like what he's been able to do in these last couple of games. I know JJ Redick was saying this yesterday. He was talking about how aggressive he is and how confident he looks. And that to me is, you know, that's the big thing. Because I think a lot of these players, it's not they don't have skill. Jake LaRavia can play. I mean, Jake LaRavia's got a couple highlight dunks. He attacks the glass. He gets rebounds. He can dish the ball. He's got good instincts for the game. I think his defense is underrated, but he can also go out there and give you 26 in a game. They're not going to ask him to do that every night, nor would I think, you know, do I think that'd be fair? But can he start taking on some of these roles where if Rui's not having a good night, it's okay. LaRavia could be there. If Austin Reeves wasn't able to drop 30, it's okay. Jake LaRavia could fill in the gap. I think that's really what you're looking for from Jake LaRavia. With the talent that the Lakers have, or lack of talent that the Lakers have, they need other guys to step up. LaRavia stepped up for 2 straight games. What you really want, you know what I'd love to do in a post-game show is, or in this morning show when I do it, the best thing would be when we talk about Jake LaRavia, we have some times where we're like, hey, he's not doing enough. He's got to be doing more, because that means our expectations of Jake LaRavia is rising. That's kind of, I ripped Ayton for a couple of games because my expectations for Ayton is higher. And my hope is Jake LaRavia can kind of start reaching expectations where you're depending on him to play well. And if he doesn't play well, you can kind of call him out for it. But right now, that's not the case because it's not been something that he's been able to do consistently. I'm going to read one quote from JJ from yesterday. So I told him in front of the group after the game, particularly in that first half, his aggressiveness, his confidence was really good for us. The thing we've tried to really instill and coach him on all season is that 0.5-second decision-making, being catch and shoot ready. If you're attacking a closeout, taking advantage, maintain the advantage. Both of those things require confidence and requires aggressiveness. Just a fantastic game for him. Another good game from him defensively, as well as with deflections and being disruptive. I think that's probably the area of his game that's least talked about. He's not a terrible defender. He's really not. So some positive things, I think, coming out of that game. And for me, I think it was Jake LaRavia getting some opportunities, and he takes advantage of it. If I've said this before, we talked about, you know, if the Lakers are going to go out there and make a trade, and people are trying to throw Rui Hachimura in the trade, and I'm like, guys, I don't think they have enough talent. I think they need Rui. I think the type of trade that you're making is you're trying to, if you can get Rui and he's now coming off the bench, you need more depth. You need more guys that you can depend on. And if somebody wants expiring contracts and some draft compensation, you want as much talent as you can. Jake LaRavia falls into that category. You just need guys that you can depend on. You need guys that you could look at that are younger, that have good size, that can play both sides of the ball. And I thought Jake did a fantastic job. So give love to Jake LaRavia for doing what he did in these last couple of games. And let's hope that this becomes a little bit more of the norm for him. By the way, I'm not talking about him being a 26 point a game guy. I'm just being a dependable rotational player. You know, there are a lot of guys right now in the NBA. Somebody said this to me yesterday. I don't know if anybody watched Phoenix and Oklahoma City last night. Jordan Goodwin had another good game, right? And Goodwin's just, I'm watching this guy on the ball defender. You need to find guys like Jordan Goodwin. And the Lakers had Jordan Goodwin. And I'm just using him as an example because you need players to step up, whether they signed a 2-year, $12 million contract or they're a two-way guy. You need players to step up. And Jake LaRavia's he's kind of got the tools to be that guy for the Lakers. And we'll see if he's able to do that. Jake LaRavia is better than Reeves because he's a great defender. Don't need to pin these guys against each other. I think sometimes we do that too much. If you told me Jordan Goodwin is a better player than Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, I'm just naming guys, you could pin players against each other that are not on the same team. I don't understand the pinning guys against each other that are on the same team. Austin Reeves played at an all-star level in the first half of the season before he got injured. He's not as good of a defender as Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia is not as good as an offensive machine like Austin Reeves, but they're both on the same team. We don't have to pin these guys together. You want the roster to complement each other. You want guys to be able to come in and they say, all right, hey, Reeves is going to the bench. You can throw Jake LaRavia in and you could still get a guy now that offers something a little bit different, better size, better rebounding, can play some defense, can hit some threes. So I don't think we got to pin these guys against each other. AR will take pay cut with Lakers only if he gets no trade clause. If not, we will lose him for nothing. Yeah, the Reeves thing will be interesting how it plays out. I think here's a good thing. We got a long time before that happens. And I don't think we got to worry about that right now. So we got time before all that. As long as Jake doesn't hesitate, it's a go. A lot of these players. I mean, you know, we've talked about this before. We've hit on this before. This isn't the first time that we've, talked about it, that a lot of these players, it's all about their confidence. You got a guy like Nick Smith Jr. that comes into a game. It's like, where's his confidence come from? Then you got a second rounder or a first rounder, mid-first rounder in Dalton Connect. And I'm like, this dude's got zero confidence. Confidence plays a really, really big piece in a lot of these. Confidence plays a big piece in your life, period. I mean, people that just have absurd amount of confidence, they're probably better off than somebody that's doesn't have that confidence or is more timid or whatever the case is, or is in their mind too much or whatever the case is. All right, let's get a couple more here. The Lakers can score 120 plus without AR. I love the guy, but man, we need some defense. Yeah, listen, you're not wrong there that the Lakers need defense. Against the Pistons, what they score 106. Against Houston, they scored 96. So it also depends who you play. If you play the Memphis Grizzlies or the Sacramento Kings, they put up 120 on Memphis, 128 on Memphis, 125 on Sacramento. They played against teams that just don't play any defense. But I'm with you. You need more defense. That part I'm not disagreeing with. I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. I hate the model of we're going to try to outscore teams. If your model is we're going to try to outscore teams in any sport, it means you're not a real contender. It just means we got NFL playoffs that are going to start, this Saturday. Go look at the teams that are trying to score 30-plus points in a game. They're not going to be in the playoffs very long. Go look at the teams that become wildly boring, can run the ball and can play defense and can get stops. Those are the ones that are competing for a Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys watched on Saturday night. Oh, badass game, the NFC West with Seattle and San Francisco, right? You got the Niners versus the Seahawks. Seahawks might not be a fun watch. That's a recipe to potentially go win a Super Bowl, or at least come out of the NFC. We'll see what happens, right? But there's you got to have some balance. You certainly got to have some defense. And for the Lakers, I don't disagree that from a defensive perspective, if they don't have a model on defense, you really don't have anything. So we'll see what happens here as we get a little bit closer to the trade deadline. By the way, we are closer. We're about 30 days away from the trade deadline. So a lot of our conversations now are going to be also predicated on a lot of the trade chatter talk. I mean, I have it here in my notes. I'm going to hit on it as well. So it's get ready for it because it's coming. And once it does come, there's going to be, especially around the Lakers, a team that is, I would use the word desperate for the right trade. I think that's okay. I think if you're trying to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference, yeah, they're desperate for a good trade. And it doesn't have to be big time players. It just has to be the right players. That's all going to be happening here in the next 30 days. All right. Shout out to Harris Resort SoCal. So I start the partnership with iHeart. I'm doing some Laker reports for them Monday through Friday. I did one this, I record them and then they air. I think one aired at 7 a.m. One will air at 11 a.m. And Harris Resort is all over it. They love it. So they're sponsoring everything I'm doing on AM 570. They're sponsoring me here on YouTube. I've known this is, I'll tell you this, if I'm going to give anybody any type of advice, keep relationships. I've had this relationship for about 10 years and they were with me when I was on radio as well. So let me give everyone just a quick idea. If you're in Southern California, you're looking for one of those staycations. Hey, I don't want to go out, spend a crazy amount of money. I got to go get round trip flight tickets. I got to go park my car at an airport. Every single day I'm there, they're hitting me for 20, 30 bucks, whatever it is. Then I got to go rent a car wherever I go. It's a headache. The beauty is in Southern California, we got everything. I'll tell you about Harris Resort. They're located in North San Diego, up by the Palomar Mountain area, Palomar Mountains. It's a beautiful drive out there. You're within an hour to 2 hours, depending on where you are in Southern California. Obviously, you're closer if you're in San Diego, further if you're in LA. HarrisSoCal.com. If you go to that website, you can book your getaway. I encourage everybody for a staycation. And stay tuned because we're going to be coordinating as we get into 2026. We'll be coordinating when I'm going to do a post-game show from there, when I'm going to do a morning show from there. Certainly going to encourage listeners to come out, and I'll be doing that as a partnership with iHeart at 570. So shout out to Harris SoCal. Go to HarrisSoCal.com today. All right, I'm going to keep moving here. I got some more stuff that I want to hit on, and we'll keep going. Why do I have some concern with Deandre Ayton? I'm not even talking about big picture because I think, I am talking big picture. I'm talking about big picture this season with Deandre Ayton. Not game to game per se. I am talking specifically just about Ayton for the rest of this season. I don't think we need to talk about Ayton big picture in the sense of where's Ayton going to be after this year? Where's Ayton going to be? Is he going to be your starting center for the next 3 years? I don't think he will be. And I don't think he can be if the Lakers are going to get to where they need to be. But we don't have to worry about that right now. We can just talk about Deandre Ayton right now, where Deandre Ayton is. And let me kind of explain why I have some concern about Ayton up to this point. I think Ayton's done his job. 15-8 a game, a player that, obviously came here in the buyout market, and it's a critical year for his career. And that's not me just saying that. Everybody has said that, including Deandre Ayton. He knows what it is. The Lakers were desperate for a center. He could come to the Lake Show. His perception around the league, probably not the best. His stop in Portland, probably not the best. So this is kind of his chance to rebuild his career. And maybe he uses the Lakers as just a stepping stone to get where he needs to get to. And next year he can go sign a contract and he's making, I don't know, $15 million a year for a couple of years. That should be Ayton's goal. And I'm sure that's the goal of his agent and everybody else. Ayton had a couple games in a row. Yesterday, he got back to his average. He got back to 15-8. And what I've told, people, if you've been listening to me, the Pistons game, I was highly disappointed. The first game on Friday night against the Memphis Grizzlies, very disappointed. Here's my concern with Deandre Ayton. And yesterday, like I said, Ayton played better, was certainly helping the Lakers out in the second half. I thought he had a couple of possessions on the defensive side where he was better. But let me take you back to Friday night. Friday night, and I'm going back to Friday night because I didn't do a show on Saturday morning, so I got to go back a couple of days here. Friday night, JJ Redick was asked. He had 4 points and he had 6 rebounds and basically was watching from the sidelines in the fourth quarter. And somebody had asked him the question of, well, why didn't you go back to, you went to Jackson Hayes. Why didn't you go back to Deandre? And he said, because Jackson Hayes was playing better. That was it. He didn't say anything else about it. Yesterday, a couple of quotes. He said, it's a tale as old as time for a big guy. That's the reality of being a big. Someone has to pass you the ball. You're not initiating the offense. Here is my one question about DeAndre Ayton that I have a little bit of concern of. I don't disagree if Ayton gets frustrated with the Lakers for not giving him the ball more. I actually agree with Ayton. And whether he's publicly said that or not, I'm just talking about my observation. If Ayton gets frustrated that Luka doesn't look at him enough, that JJ's not running plays for him, I don't think that's a good strategy. I do think they should run plays for DeAndre Ayton, other than just a pick and roll, other than just a slip screen. I think there needs to be times where the Lakers make a concerted effort to give Ayton the ball, get him in the right spot, let him post up, let him do his thing a little bit. I think it takes some pressure off the guards. I think it takes some pressure off LeBron and Luka. I think it keeps Ayton engaged. I think it keeps defenses honest how they guard DeAndre Ayton and how they guard some of the other players, because what you don't want is Ayton just on the floor. You can't treat him like Jackson Hayes because he's not Jackson Hayes. He's actually a skilled big man. Here's my concern with DeAndre Ayton. If he's not getting the ball, plays aren't ran for him. How much does that affect him the rest of the way? I know this. I know that if a play isn't ran for, I'm using guys as examples. I don't even know if these are good examples. If Jake LaRavia doesn't have a play ran for him, I know I don't have to worry about Jake LaRavia's motor and his effort and his energy and all that stuff. Again, that's not a good comp because Ayton has bigger expectations than Jake LaRavia. And maybe LaRavia can work his way into having expectations, but Ayton's a key piece for the Lakers if they're going to make any noise. I remember before the season started, you get asked these questions of who's the most important player? What thing are you most looking forward to watching this season? What's going to be most critical? And a lot of my answers was like, yeah, Ayton. Ayton's going to be everything for the Lakers. They got to have a legitimate center, give them good minutes. My concern with Ayton is if he's not getting the ball, or if things aren't going his way, or if he feels like he's not involved, I think he checks out. He might not check out for 48 minutes, but he might check out for 12 minutes. He might check out for 6 minutes of a quarter. He might check out for half of a game. My concern with DeAndre Ayton is there's a little bit of this, well, if I'm not getting involved, then I can't be the exact player that you need me to be, rather than switch that. Whether I'm involved or not, my motor, my energy, my positivity, my confidence, all that stuff doesn't get affected. I feel like it's opposite for DeAndre Ayton. So I think this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. And I do think it's got to be something that's got to be balanced by the Lakers. Again, I put some responsibility on JJ, on Luka, on LeBron. Find ways to get the guy the damn ball. Run some plays for him. First off, I think he's a skilled enough big man, and you don't have this crazy amount of talent everywhere. And one of the things that I hate watching is ISO basketball and watching the Lakers just have, I don't need to see Luka or LeBron dribble the ball for 18 seconds of a shot clock and then make a decision at the end. Move the ball. Have more weapons that you have be effective. And for Ayton, they don't need just Ayton on the offensive end. Of course, they need Ayton on the defensive end. And I do think there's a case to be made that Ayton deserves more looks and touches. And I also think there's a case to be made that if you don't get that, I don't think you get the best version of DeAndre Ayton. That sucks, but I think that comes with the territory with DeAndre Ayton. It probably comes with the territory with a lot of players, but I think for Ayton, there's a little bit of that. So I got a little bit of concern about Ayton. And again, when I say big picture, what I'm referring to is Ayton big picture this season. I'm not talking about big picture down the road because I don't think Ayton is the solution or the answer for the Lakers down the road. I don't. You could kind of get what you need from him this year. He can get what he needs from you this year, and both sides can potentially move on. If Ayton, now Ayton's got a player option second year. I think we've all said this. If Ayton's re-signing with the Lakers and picking up that player option, that means he didn't have the season that he needed to have. All right, I'll take a look at some of the comments here as we keep rolling here. Appreciate you guys being here, by the way. I will take a quick second here just to tell everybody that if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate that. Members show this week. I think members show this week, I'm going to do it on Thursday. That way we're coming off the 2 games, Thursday or Friday. It's going to be one of those 2 days. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Let's see what we got here. Calling out LeBron as playing iso ball is hilariously wrong. Well, he doesn't have the ball in his hands as he typically does this year because the ball is in Luka's, obviously in Luka's hands. So that has a lot more to do with it with anything else. But I think you guys understand what I'm referring to. Got to run some things. Got to keep him involved. Got to keep Ayton involved. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Somebody said the volume is volume good. When I see one comment say volume's not working, then instant panic. All right, let's see what we got here. We get you, Slee. I agree 100%. Can't be demanding touches when you got Luka and Bron. His job is to be a rim protector and score when he gets the ball if he does. Yeah, listen, I still think there's 48 minutes in a game. And I don't think it's good offense when one guy has the ball. I do think they need to use, whether it's LeBron or use Luka or when Austin Reeves there, use these guys as decoys. I think some of the best teams in the NBA, they use their best players, and times they're just they're a decoy. Yeah, we know everybody's got all the attention on Luka Doncic, so that's why we run other plays for other players. So I think that part is, it's critical. It's important. I think it's fair to have Ayton say, I need more looks. I need more touches. We don't have a true starting center. They don't right now. I think, again, Ayton is like he's a good Band-Aid. He's a good Band-Aid for now, but it's not a long-term fix. Eventually, you're going to need to get in there and do some work. Ayton, a backup big in this league because of his defensive deficiencies and his low motor. Well, he hasn't been a backup, but he could be working his way as a backup. That could be realistic if he doesn't have, obviously the type of season that everybody is hoping that he has. Slee, have you guys forgotten about Shaq and his checking out when he felt he wasn't getting the ball? Yeah, but there's a big difference there. Shaq's a 3-time finals MVP and was the most dominating player in the league for a good 8 years. Ayton is nowhere near the conversation of that. That's the difference. The difference is, there's certain players that if they're not getting the damn ball, that's just idiotic and dumb. And if Shaq wasn't getting the ball, that's just idiotic and dumb. Ayton doesn't fit into that mold. Plus, you have Luka on this team. You have LeBron. You have some of these other players. AR, you got, obviously so many other players that are out there. But at the same time, like I was saying, it's from what I'm referring to is just get him involved one way or the other. One way or the other. All right. Volume good. Audio's fine. You want to give somebody a heart attack? Tell a podcaster while they're live, their audio is not good. If you only know what goes through my mind when I see that. I'd get another comment here. I want to hit on LeBron real quick. And then there's an article out here about some trade targets for the Lakers for Mark Stein. We'll move on from that. Appreciate you guys chiming in, by the way. Slee, what percentage do you give the Lakers to make a trade? Honestly, I'd really, really, by the way, thank you for being a member for 8 months. Is shocked the right word? I'd be very, very, very surprised they don't make a move. Now, it depends on the type of move, right? Because if they made a move that's a short-term fix, that I would be surprised on, and I don't think I would totally agree with that. If they made a move because they felt like we're going to give up assets because we think this player could play with Luka and Austin Reeves for the next 2-3 years, that's the type of move I'm expecting. I'm expecting a move that's going to help them this season, but just as important, a player that they feel like could be around with the Lakers and play with Luka and play along Austin Reeves for a number of years. I'd be very, very surprised if the Lakers don't make a trade. Very, very surprised. So it's a perfect transition. So that's something that we can hit on here. Again, I think this is the time of the year where obviously a lot of these conversations are going to start. Before I do so, let me just give a quick shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to our official partner, somebody that's been here on YouTube now for a good amount of time, somebody that was with me on radio. Just a quick reminder, if you need an injury attorney for whatever reason, or you just need an attorney to point you in the right direction, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Just go to the website, get an absolutely free consultation. Don't, I know it's daunting, intimidating, all that. You don't know where to start, whatever process that you're in, or maybe a family member or a friend is in, just go to the website. That's it. Go to the website and they will point you in the right direction. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Here are the trade rumors that are out there. Okay. I'm going to read a piece of Mark Stein, who does a phenomenal job. I don't know if you guys have Mark Stein's Substack that he's on. I'm on it, so I'm happy to be on it and support somebody that's doing a great job. I'm going to read a quote here Mark Stein wrote in his Substack newsletter. This came over the weekend. Hit on a lot of things. Like I mentioned, a lot of the trade chatter is going to be going on right now. Here's what he said. The market for such wings, this is in regards to the Pelicans and to Herb Jones specifically. Lakers tomorrow have the Pelicans, so this is good timing to have this conversation. The market for such wings who can shoot from distance and defend remains quite limited, with New Orleans still resistant to trade interest in both Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III. Mark Stein wrote, there's just something else to point out here. Clutch Points, Brett Siegel had put out something. He had also had something. This was, I think, over the course of the last week or so, he had a report out there. Herb Jones is another player high atop the Lakers trade wish list. The Lakers have already held conversations with the Pelicans about Jones' availability, but they aren't actively looking to move their defensive-minded wing. Jones' asking price remains very high and appears out of the Lakers' price range. Okay, so that's just the latest that comes on a specific player. I've said this before, and I do think this is something to keep in mind. Herb Jones would be a perfect fit for the Lakers. Perfect fit. By the way, at the right age, too. What's Luka? He's 26. Austin Reeves is 27. Herb Jones is 27 as well. He's on a 3-year extension at $68 million. So it's the numbers are right. He'll be with the Lakers. He would be with the Lakers for a number of years, or at least a couple of years. The player is perfect for the Lakers. That's why it's going to be so tough to get him, because a lot of players or a lot of teams need a player like Herb Jones, especially the Lakers. Of course, the asking price is going to be high. They have him under contract. He's making a decent amount of money, which also a team that gets him controls him for the next couple of years. He's a two-way player. The Lakers are desperate for a player like that. He's at the right age. And I think something that, you got to keep in mind, the more you hear about one player's name associated with a team, I feel like the less likely that player is going to end up on your team. It reminds me of the Miles Turner days, Buddy Hield days, Andrew Wiggins' name now we're hearing a ton. There's certain names that you always hear associated. How many times did you hear DeMar DeRozan for a while? There's certain players that I think start getting associated with the Lakers, and it almost just becomes, who knows? Maybe, they're A lot of these reports, teams' front offices are using, well, the Lakers are interested in. They're driving up the price, the costs, whatever the case is. I think the trades that are more likely to happen as you get closer to the trade deadline are the names that you just don't hear. We didn't hear Dorian Finney-Smith and then bam, he's a Laker. We didn't hear D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, bam, they're Lakers. Right? I think sometimes it's not the names that you're constantly hearing that end up getting traded to your team or getting traded to your roster. I think Herb Jones would be phenomenal for the Lakers. I think if I'm the Pelicans, yeah, I'm making sure that I'm getting everything that I need. Why wouldn't I? I got a 27-year-old, a young player, coveted's got some history in the NBA, would be clearly not just a good fit for the Lakers. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that are interested in him. All right, you want him? You got to pay the asking price. And there aren't, it's still too early right now. I mean, yes, trades do go down. Lakers traded for Dorian Finney-Smith last year. It was December 28th, 29th, whatever the date was. It was right before the new year. So it's not that trades don't happen this early, but trades are more likely a little bit further down the season. The only, or a little bit further down, yes, the season, but closer to the trade deadline. The only way I could see them, the Pelicans saying, we got to trade Herb Jones, is they get a trade package that they just can't refuse. And then there's also just the interest of losing games so that you have a higher probability of trying to get the number 1 pick or a top 3 pick. So that's the latest that I saw as far as trade targets for the Lakers. That's what Mark Stein put out there. I'll read a few comments here. Then we'll talk a little bit about Ja Morant and go from there. Slee gonna freak when we trade Jake. I'd be shocked if they trade Jake LaRavia. There's no need to either. I think you want him. I think he's a nice player. I think he's got a tremendous amount of upside. He's on a great contract as well. You need more players like that. All right, let's get a couple more here. Do you guys know basketball? In order to get a good trade, you got to add Reeves in the trade. Well, it depends what kind of trade you're making. You can make a good trade and not have big-time players that are involved. You can make a deal with another team that's looking for draft assets and looking for expiring contracts. You don't have to have an Austin Reeves type of player to go get good quality players back. You don't. You can piece things together. Every team is in a different spot. Not all teams are looking to compete. Some teams want they want flexibility. They don't want to take on money. Some teams are just looking for an exit route with a player. It just depends. One player could be bad on one team and then end up with a different squad and is shining with another team. So I think there's more. I think there's a lot of variables that come into it. Guys, I hate to disappoint you, but nobody wants to make the Lakers better. Our picks to make moves were blown on Russell, Westbrook, and LeBron had to have him. Let me tell you how this team can get better. Yes, I agree. There's some truth to that comment there. This is how the organization can get better. You have to draft better. You got to find more players that in today's NBA, there are a lot of names that nobody knew a year ago that all of a sudden are making an impact on good teams. You got to have this. There's got to be a blueprint and a DNA in your team where everybody that joins a team, the bare minimums of playing hard, effort, boxing out, doing all the little things, that's all given. That anybody that steps on the floor, that's already accomplished. There's a lot of ways to improve your team and your roster, and it's not just through trades. Trades will be part of it, but the way you recruit, the way your scouting department, who you draft, the small moves that you make, there's a lot of ways that the Lakers can get better. And I think if I'm new ownership, that's probably where there's so much opportunity with the Lakers. I don't think they're good in a lot of the small things. And I have a feeling this new ownership, they're going to be really good at the small things. And once they have a year, 2 years to kind of clean up whatever they need to clean up, I do think this team's going to be very competitive for years to come. I do. But that's based off seeing what they've done in a completely different sport, which isn't apples to apples. So I don't think that's a fair comparison for me to make. But I think winners find ways to win, and they are a winning ownership. And I think typically that's in your DNA and everything that you do. You're not great at one thing and then awful at the other. It's like you kind of bring these principles to every single piece of your life. So I do think it will eventually change. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let me hit something real quick. And I want to hit something on Ja Morant real quick. I'm going to hit something on Ja, and then I'm going to get into some of the NBA stuff. All right, somebody getting Reeves won't get traded. He could get traded. I just don't think it's happening this year, right? I think he will sign with the Lakers, and then I think they'll give it a year to see if LeBron is off the roster or his books are off or his numbers are off the books or whatever the case is. I think they'll give it some time. Okay, let me do this real quick on Ja Morant. Watched Ja, in the game on Friday night. Watched the Memphis Grizzlies, who actually play pretty good without Ja Morant. I saw an article, and the moment I saw this, I'm like, oh, that's not good. NBA trade rumors. Are Kings ready to welcome Ja Morant to create a new core? It's just an article. Nobody's saying that this is going to happen or anything. But I've been saying to myself that, and they put out a trade. And again, this is just literally an outlet out there that's creating a dialogue and a conversation. I think Fadeaway World had put it out there, and it was the Kings receiving Ja Morant. Memphis gets DeMar, Malik, Keon Ellis, 2029 first-round pick, 2031 first-round pick. Let me put all that to the side of what the details are. If I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, man, I'm shopping me some Ja Morant, and I want to know what I can get in the market. Hasn't his time and his days with the Memphis Grizzlies just ran its course? Isn't it over? Guy's not the same player as he used to be as well. I think both franchises can really, really benefit. I think Ja Morant needs to end up with a franchise and an organization that knows what the hell they're doing and can get the absolute best out of Ja Morant again. And it ain't going to be the Sacramento Kings, nor is it going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the Kings need to move, or I think the Memphis Grizzlies need to move on as well. They got some young, good pieces. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. They got some decent players that they can build around. But the days, I think, of building around Ja Morant, is it just me, or does it feel like those days are long gone for the Memphis Grizzlies? And if there's a time to still trade him while he's still young, to trade him at a time where you still feel like you can get some good value for him, to kind of put it on another team and another franchise to try to figure out if they could take advantage or they can get the best out of Ja Morant moving forward. I watched 2 games with the Memphis Grizzlies, Friday and Sunday. Friday, it's not the same Ja Morant. I don't know what happened to Ja Morant, but that ain't the same Ja Morant. Doesn't it feel like both sides need to just move on? Let Ja Morant go somewhere else. And if you're Ja Morant, you need a fresh start as well. But here's the big thing with Ja. It's got to be with the right franchise. He needs the right head coach. If Ja Morant was in Houston under Ime Udoka, or if he's, again, I'm just naming off teams. If he's in, you name the team. Maybe the Pistons, maybe the San Antonio Spurs. He's not going to the San Antonio Spurs. My point is that Miami with Eric Spoelstra. He's got to be with the right coach, the right front office. But that ain't the same Ja Morant. Ja Morant used to be must-watch TV. Watch them on Friday. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to watch another Ja Morant game. I'm good. Ja Morant. You guys remember some of the highlights Ja Morant used to have? Clutch moments, highlight reels. I don't see any of that anymore. He also doesn't look interested. Doesn't look interested to be playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. Keep an eye out for Ja Morant and what the Memphis Grizzlies end up doing, because I do think it's interesting. Okay, I got some NBA news I'm going to hit on. We'll do the weekend recap, and then we're going to call it a day. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. A couple things around the NBA. Looking at the standings here. Lakers third in the Western Conference, 22-11. How are they third? How are they 22-11? the way we talk about the Lakers, it feels like the Lakers are, 10 games below 500 or they're playing at 500. That's not the case. Lakers are still kind of stacking up these wins to be third place in the Western Conference and twice as many wins as losses. I obviously think that's a good thing. Now, how sustainable is it? I don't know. Who you play obviously has a lot to do with it. We'll see what the Lakers end up doing. Got some games around the league tonight, so something to keep in mind for everybody. Knicks and the Pistons on Peacock. That's a phenomenal game right there. That should be a fun game to watch. See if you got any other good games. Suns are coming off a win yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got the Rockets tonight. So another good game right there. Unfortunately, with Denver not having Jokic, it's Denver and the Sixers. I think Denver's going to keep falling in the standings, and a lot of teams in the West will take advantage of that. Once they get healthy, they're going to be a tough out again. Clippers got the Warriors, Jazz got the Blazers. Those are your games around the NBA tonight. So something to keep in mind in regards to some of the games in the NBA. Okay, I'm going to jump around here, and one quick thing on the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll do the weekend recap and we'll call it a day. Oklahoma City Thunder lost again yesterday. So if you're just looking at the Thunder, again, I'm not here to try to tell you that the Thunder are done. I'm not here to try to tell you that the Oklahoma City Thunder are not still going to be the favorites to come out of the Western Conference. But the Thunder are basically, let's see what they got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're playing 500 ball. Maybe 6-4 in their last 10. I know they've lost 5 at least at their last 11. So what once was a conversation that the Oklahoma City Thunder, by the way, since Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said they're going to go for the record, they've lost 5 games. I didn't like when he said that, by the way. I kind of like how they keep under the radar. But they've lost 5 games. So all I'm telling you is they're human. That San Antonio's beat them now. Phoenix has beat them now. There's some teams out there that have handled the Oklahoma City Thunder. They'll still be the overwhelming favorite, but they're human. That you can draw blood. They actually are human. So that's where the Thunder are right now. Something to keep in mind as we continue to go through the season. All right, we got our weekend recap presented by the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you want to go to that website, get a free consultation. Couple things around all football related. NFL weekend slate is set for the playoffs. College football playoff was phenomenal over the weekend, except for the game that I went to. So we'll hit on both of those. All right, here's the weekend recap. NFL, we're all set. Here's the bracket. Freaking NFL, man. God, the NFL is just too good. I love me some NBA. I mean, I'm a league pass guy. All right. Pistons are playing the Cavs yesterday at 11 a.m. I had that on before I had NFL games on. I know. But the NFL is just king. There's nothing you could do about it. Packers at the Bears. Niners at the Eagles. Rams at the Carolina Panthers. Damn, the Rams kind of get lucky with their matchup. Now, I know they've lost to the Panthers, but don't tell me everyone's not going to stack up giving the Rams obviously the favorite in that game. But Packers and the Bears, Niners at the Eagles, and then Rams at the Panthers. Packers-Bears is interesting as well, just because they played just a couple weeks ago. Love didn't play in that game. Did he leave early in that game? I can't remember. But Packers had the game and then choked it away at the end after an onside kick. Niners and Philadelphia is going to be phenomenal. And then Seahawks obviously have they got the bye. In the AFC bracket, Chargers at the Patriots, Buffalo at Jacksonville, Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Baltimore Ravens cannot hit a field goal. Broncos have the bye. So phenomenal games coming up. That's going to be fun. Can't wait for the NFL starting on Saturday. And all these games are just must watch. All of them. There literally is no games in the NFL that are not must watch. The college football playoff. If you guys were watching the college football playoff, Ole Miss, phenomenal game against Georgia. Can I give you guys a quick Lane Kiffin rant real quick? I mean, I know people are like, Slee, I'm here to talk about Jake LaRavia. Quick Lane Kiffin rant. You didn't want to just stay with your squad and see if you can win a national championship? I mean, you're probably the most coveted college football coach out there. You probably can pick anywhere that you want to go. You didn't want to you built this program over the last handful of years. You're going to tell me that Lane Kiffin's going to have no regret in his life not asking the question, could I have won a national championship with Ole Miss? I mean, you could have told LSU, guys, I'm in the college football playoff. I'm going to go try to win a national championship. And if you don't like that, all right, well, then I'm not supposed to be the LSU head coach. I'm the coach for Ole Miss. You know what would have happened? Every other big program would have been like, well, we'll wait for Lane Kiffin, or we'll wait a year for Lane Kiffin. You really want to leave after you built this program? You got to the college football playoff and you just leave? They're in the semifinals and Lane Kiffin is not there? I'm rooting for Ole Miss for that story right there. Let Lane Kiffin regret leaving Ole Miss. I'm not telling you LSU. I know what they're going to pay him and everything else, but Jesus, how much money do you need? Don't you want to finish the job? I went to the Rose Bowl. I went Indiana, Alabama. 38-3, Indiana dominated. I think that's the best team in college football that's left. They were phenomenal. And I was rooting for Indiana. I was actually sitting in the Indiana section just randomly. I bought tickets late, paid $100, came in and got to watch a phenomenal game. Well, it wasn't a phenomenal game. It was an ass kicking. I had to root for Alabama in the second half just so we could have a game here. But Indiana, phenomenal in that one. Let's see what else we have here. Oregon beat Texas Tech 23-0. And let's see. And Miami beat Ohio State 24-14. So the table is set here. Just 2 games left. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you guys are enjoying the college football playoff as much as I am, but I like watching the big boys play and, obviously go at it. When are these games? Do we even know? I swear they make it so difficult just to find these games. College football. All right. They'll be coming up. I think they're on Friday. Oh, here's where they are. So Thursday, Miami, Ole Miss. Friday, Oregon, Indiana. Fun time of the year. Fun time of the year. I'm going to read a couple of your comments. We're going to call it a day. We're going to get the hell out of here. Everyone's going to enjoy their Monday and enjoy 2026. What do we got here? I like Ohio State and Alabama losing. I'm with you on that. Yeah, listen, Slee could be a hater. Sometimes I wear my hater hat very proud. Very, very proud. Lane will make $1 million if they win the football playoffs. Fellas, I mean, don't you want you don't want to you built the entire program. I don't care how much he makes. I don't think you guys are understanding this. The guy has all the money he can possibly have. There's no more money and he's going to make an unbelievable amount of money for the rest of his career. You only get a couple of shots and you get a chance to do it with Ole Miss. I don't know. I thought it was a cool story. All right. Anything else? Gotta follow the money. No, thank you, man. I mean, listen, go follow the money. That's fine. But you can hold some principle and values and then still go make some money. All right, my people. I think that's all we got today. Good show. Fun to be back with you. Happy to be back here as we start 2026. I gotta work all week. Monday through Friday this week. Laker post-game shows. A little bit of work for 570 with some Laker reports. The hell's going on here? Can we ease back into it? No, we can't. We got to jump right back in. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out for an hour and almost 15 minutes. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Lakers got the Pelicans tomorrow night as well. And looking forward to breaking everything down for everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please subscribe to the channel. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Have a great rest of your Monday.